Introduction. How many times have you read something and completely forgotten it the next day? You highlight every sentence, you rewrite your notes, you stay up late thinking you're making progress, but when the exam comes, your mind goes blank. We've all been there. You put in the hours, you give it your best, yet it feels like your brain has a leak. No matter how much you pour in, it just slips away. But here's the truth. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because your brain is weak. It's simply because nobody ever taught you how memory actually works. What if I told you that remembering for life doesn't require more effort, just better timing? That there's a proven method backed by neuroscience that lets you retain knowledge for years, not just days. In this video, I'll reveal a simple, science-backed technique used by memory experts, doctors, and top-performing students to learn faster, recall easier, and remember almost anything for life. It's called spaced repetition, and once you understand it, you'll never study the same way again. So before we dive into how to use it, let's start with something deeper: why your brain forgets in the first place. Why we forget. The science of memory decay. Here's the hard truth about learning. Your brain forgets, and it forgets fast. Psychologists discovered something fascinating over a century ago. A man named Hermann Ebbinghaus ran an experiment on memory, and what he found changed how we understand learning forever. He discovered what's now called the forgetting curve, and it's brutal. Within just one day, you can forget up to 70% of what you've learned, unless you review it at the right time. Think of your memory like wet cement. When you first learn something, the knowledge is soft, flexible, easy to shape. But if you don't go over it again before it hardens, the details fade, the shape disappears, and it becomes impossible to change later. You might still recognize the topic when you see it again, but you won't be able to recall it when you need it most, like during an exam or a job interview or a real-life challenge. That's why cramming doesn't work. That's why rereading your notes 10 times feels productive. But it's actually just tricking your brain into familiarity, not mastery. Your brain is designed to forget, because forgetting helps it clear space for what truly matters. But that also means if you don't give your brain the right signal to keep something, it will quietly delete it. So, what if there was a way to work with your brain's natural rhythm of forgetting instead of constantly fighting against it? That's exactly what spaced repetition does. It's not about studying harder, it's about studying smarter, right when your brain is about to forget. What is spaced repetition? So now that we understand why we forget, let's talk about the technique that changes everything. It's called spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is a learning method that helps you remember more by studying less. How? By reviewing information at increasing intervals, right before your brain is about to forget it. Here's how it works. The first time you learn something, you review it the next day to stop that quick drop in memory. Then, you review it again 3 days later, then 1 week, then 1 month. Each time you revisit the material, your brain says, this again, it must be important. And the connection gets stronger, like carving a deeper groove into your mind. Think of your memory like a muscle. Every review is like a workout. If you train it at the right time, just before it starts to weaken, the muscle grows stronger than before. But if you lift weights every 5 minutes, you'll burn out. And if you never lift again, you'll lose all progress. That's why timing is everything. Spaced repetition gives your brain just enough challenge to grow without exhausting it. This isn't just theory. It's how medical students memorize thousands of facts. It's how language learners remember words for life. And it's how top performers keep complex knowledge sharp year after year. They don't rely on long study hours. They rely on smart timing. So now you know what spaced repetition is, but how do you actually use it in real life? Let's break it down step by step. How spaced repetition works. Now that you understand what spaced repetition is, let's go one level deeper and see how it actually works. Because when you know how to use it, you'll start remembering things for months, even years, without constant studying. There are 3 simple steps, and if you follow them, you'll completely change the way you learn. Step 1. Learn the material. Before you try to memorize anything, you need to understand it. Comprehension always comes first. If you don't truly get what you're learning, your brain has nothing solid to hold on to. So take the time to grasp the idea. Ask yourself, what does this actually mean? How does it connect to what I already know? For example, if you're learning a new formula in math, don't just copy it down. Understand why it works. If you're learning new vocabulary, use it in a sentence. Turn information into meaning, because that's what your brain remembers best. Step 2, review before forgetting. Once you've learned the material, the real magic begins, reviewing it before you forget. Here's the simple timeline. Day 1, first review. Day 3, second review. Day 7, third review. Then maybe day 14, day 30, or day 60, depending on how strong your memory feels. Each review acts like a signal telling your brain, this information matters. Keep it. But here's the key, timing matters. If you review too soon, your brain doesn't have to struggle, and without that struggle, it doesn't grow. But if you review too late, you've already forgotten it, and you have to start over. That sweet spot, right before you forget, is where learning becomes permanent. Step 3, use active recall. And finally, don't just reread your notes. That's passive learning. Instead, test yourself. Close the book. Ask yourself the question out loud. Write down what you remember. Use flashcards, quizzes, or even explain it to someone else. Because every time you pull information out of your mind, you're strengthening that neural pathway. That's called active recall, and it's the difference between knowing something and owning it. So remember the flow. Understand first. Review before forgetting. Test yourself every time. That's how spaced repetition transforms studying from a chore into a powerful system your brain actually loves. Now that you know how it works, let's move on to the fun part, how to actually apply this system using real tools and daily strategies. Tools and methods for spaced repetition. Now that you understand how spaced repetition works, let's talk about how to actually use it, starting today. Because theory is great, but transformation only happens when you apply it. 1. Digital tools. Smart, automatic, effortless. The easiest way to begin is by using digital tools designed for spaced repetition. The most powerful one, Anki. It's not just an app, it's like having a personal memory coach powered by AI. Anki automatically calculates the perfect review intervals for each card, showing you a concept right before your brain is about to forget it. Other great options include Quizlet, RemNote, and Brainscape. They're all intuitive, easy to use, and available on both mobile and desktop. These tools handle the scheduling for you, so all you have to do is focus on learning. Number 2, analog methods. Simple, yet powerful. But maybe you prefer something more tangible, something you can hold, write on, and feel. Then go old school. Use paper flashcards, and on the back of each card, write down the dates when you'll review it. Day 1, Day 3, Day 7, Day 14, Day 30. Or you can build a simple review calendar or study notebook system, marking topics to revisit each week. It's surprisingly effective. Sometimes simplicity wins. 3. How to structure your study routine. Here's a quick example. If you study biology today, review it tomorrow, then again on day 3, then on day 7. By the end of that first week, you'll remember up to 90% of what you learned, while most people forget nearly everything in just a few days. 4. Combine it with other proven techniques. You can make spaced repetition even more powerful by combining it with other learning methods. Use Pomodoro sessions to stay focused. Apply active recall each time you review. Don't just read, test yourself. And if you really want mastery, teach what you've learned to someone else. Because teaching isn't the end of learning, it's the proof that you've learned. But what makes spaced repetition truly life-changing is not just the tools or the schedule, it's how it changes your entire relationship with learning itself. The deeper benefits of spaced repetition. You see, spaced repetition isn't just a study technique. It's a mindset shift, a way of training your mind for lifelong learning. Once you start using it, something powerful happens. 1. It builds long-term retention and true mastery. Most people learn just to pass the next test, but they forget it all weeks later. With spaced repetition, your brain transforms short-term knowledge into deep, lasting memory. You don't just remember, you own the knowledge. You can recall it effortlessly, even months or years later. That's the difference between cramming and true mastery. 2. It saves you time. By targeting weak spots. Here's the beauty of this system. You're not reviewing everything all the time. You focus only on what your brain is close to forgetting. That means every minute of your study session actually counts. You stop wasting time rereading things you already know and start reinforcing the things that truly need attention. In the long run, spaced repetition doesn't just make you smarter, it makes you efficient. Three, it builds confidence. You know it. Think about how powerful it feels to walk into an exam, a presentation, or even a real life situation and have zero doubt that you remember everything you need. That confidence isn't arrogance, it's the quiet strength that comes from preparation and repetition. When your memory works with you, not against you, learning becomes liberating. Four, it extends far beyond school. This isn't just for students. Spaced repetition helps you learn languages faster, master skills more deeply, and retain professional knowledge that others constantly have to relearn. It's the difference between temporary competence and lifelong expertise. And here's the emotional truth: when you learn this way, studying stops feeling like punishment. It becomes a system, efficient, repeatable, almost automatic. You start realizing that learning isn't a chore, it's a superpower you can build, one review at a time. Of course, every system has pitfalls, so let's talk about how to avoid the most common mistakes before they slow down your progress. Common mistakes and how to avoid them. Now that you understand how spaced repetition works, there's something you really need to know, because even the smartest learners make these mistakes. They start strong, but a few wrong moves can make the whole system collapse. So before you dive in, let's make sure you're not sabotaging your own progress. Mistake one, reviewing too often. This one sounds harmless, but it's actually the biggest trap. When you review too soon, your brain doesn't need to struggle. And without that little bit of effort, your memory never grows stronger. Think of it like lifting weights that are too light. You're going through the motion, but not building any muscle. Let your memory work a little. Review right before you forget, not immediately after learning. That's where growth happens. Mistake two, skipping intervals. The second mistake, skipping your scheduled reviews. When life gets busy, it's tempting to say, I'll review tomorrow. But every time you delay too long, you lose the rhythm your brain depends on to retain knowledge. It's like missing a beat in a song. Once you're off rhythm, it's hard to find your flow again. Set reminders, use an app, or even a sticky note on your desk, whatever it takes to keep that rhythm alive. Mistake three, passive review. Another common trap, just rereading your notes. It feels productive, but it's actually one of the least effective ways to learn. Your eyes recognize the words, but your brain isn't being challenged to retrieve them. Always test yourself. Use flashcards, quizzes, or explain it out loud. If you can recall it without looking, you truly know it. Mistake four, overloading with too much material. Finally, trying to learn everything at once. We've all done it. You find a new study system, you get excited, and suddenly you're trying to review 5 subjects a day. But here's the truth: that only leads to burnout. Start small, just 5 flashcards, 1 subject, 1 short session a day. When that becomes easy, add more, because consistency always beats intensity. Remember, spaced repetition isn't a race, it's a rhythm, a system that rewards patience, not perfection. Master the small steps and your results will multiply, quietly, powerfully, and permanently. Now, let's bring it all together with one final takeaway: making spaced repetition a habit. So, we've covered what spaced repetition is, how it works, and even how to avoid the traps that make people give up too soon. But here's the truth most learners miss: the power of spaced repetition doesn't come from knowing it, it comes from making it a habit. Because learning is never a one time event, it's a rhythm, a quiet, daily act that compounds into mastery over time. Here's how you do it. Step one, anchor it to your existing routine. Don't wait for motivation. Attach the habit to something that already happens every day: your morning coffee, your daily commute, that calm moment before bed. Whatever it is, that's your cue. Every time it happens, you open your review app or pull out your flashcards. It's like telling your brain, this is what we do now. Step two, focus on consistency, not intensity. The secret isn't studying for hours, it's showing up, even for 15 to 25 minutes a day. Because the real magic of spaced repetition lies in momentum. Small, consistent steps train your brain far better than rare, intense sessions. Remember, it's not about cramming, it's about coming back again and again. Step three, keep it short and sustainable. You don't have to end every session exhausted. In fact, the best time to stop is when your mind still feels curious, when you think, I could do one more. That's the moment when learning sticks the deepest because your brain remembers pleasure and curiosity, not fatigue. Step 4, celebrate progress. Track what you've mastered. Watch your review streak grow. Look back every week and see how far you've come. That simple reflection turns repetition into motivation because confidence doesn't come from perfection, it comes from seeing proof that you're improving. And here's the part most people never expect. When you do this long enough, repetition starts to shape more than your memory. It shapes your identity. You stop being someone who studies. You become someone who retains, someone who understands deeply, who learns for life. As one great teacher once said, repetition doesn't just build memory, it builds identity. So start small, stay consistent, and let this quiet rhythm of review transform not just what you know, but who you are becoming. Final takeaways. Closing. So let's bring everything together. You've just learned a method that can completely transform the way you study, not by working harder, but by working smarter. Here's the essence of what we've explored today. First, spaced repetition works with your brain, not against it. It understands the natural forgetting curve and uses it to help you remember for months, even years. Second, it's all about timing, reviewing at expanding intervals. 1 day, 3 days, a week, a month. Each review strengthens your memory like lifting a weight at just the right moment. And third, combine it with active recall. Don't just reread, test yourself. Force your brain to retrieve the answer. That's where the real learning happens. So remember this. Don't fight your brain, train it. Once you master spaced repetition, you'll realize something powerful. Genius isn't a gift, it's a system you can start using today. Here's my challenge for you. Try it for just 1 week. Use flashcards, use Anki, or even a simple notebook. Watch how much more you retain and how your confidence starts to grow with every review. Because learning doesn't have to be a struggle, it can be a rhythm, simple, light, and deeply effective. And if this video helped you, hit like, share it with a friend who's tired of forgetting everything they study, and subscribe for more science-backed learning strategies that will help you remember more, stress less, and unlock your full potential.